Every time you ask a generative AI to write a prompt or load up a 4K video stream, you trigger a physical reaction hundreds of miles away. To keep the internet from crashing, massive data centers built in the middle of American deserts must boil away thousands of gallons of fresh water every single day just for cooling. But big tech is only one player in a much larger operation. A coordinated, multi-trillion-dollar rush is currently underway to lock down the one resource humans literally cannot live without. For more than 2 centuries, the water flowing into American homes was treated as a public trust. Cities and towns managed their own water systems to guarantee public health, ensure economic opportunity, and meet a basic human need. Then, federal investment in these critical networks plummeted. The pipelines, pumps, and treatment plants were left to age and decay, forcing local governments to take on massive debt just to keep the taps running. Massive opening. Over the last 2 decades, multinational corporations and Wall Street firms have exploited this weakness across 3 distinct fronts. The first front targets the cities themselves. Under the guise of public-private partnerships, local governments hand over the management of their municipal water utilities to massive global corporations like Veolia and Suez. Because these companies operate on the profit motive, they aggressively cut costs to generate shareholder returns. In Atlanta, a 20-year private contract resulted in brown water and system-wide mismanagement. In Pittsburgh, the private operator switched the corrosion control chemical to a cheaper alternative without required approvals, triggering a massive lead crisis. In Michigan, state laws allowed the governor to appoint unelected emergency managers with absolute financial control over struggling cities. To pay down Detroit and Flint's debts, these managers liquidated assets and rewrote contracts, ignoring public safety and local opposition. In Flint, the appointed officials forced to switch to the Flint River as a temporary drinking water source. They ignored years of warnings about the water's toxicity and skipped standard corrosion control treatments to save a minor amount of money. Residents unknowingly consumed lead-contaminated water for 18 months. A similar logic devastated Detroit. Faced with mounting municipal debt, the emergency management initiated mass water shutoffs in 2014, cutting off up to 3,000 customers a week. Rates for the remaining residents increased by 119% over a decade. When basic utilities are transferred from public stewardship to a private balance sheet, water is no longer a life-sustaining service. It becomes a highly efficient mechanism for extracting wealth from the poor. The second front bypasses the pipes entirely and goes straight to the source. Beverage conglomerates have spent decades commodifying groundwater, turning a natural resource into a packaged grocery product. They rely on a legal loophole known as absolute dominion. In many states, if you own a parcel of land, you have the right to draw unlimited water from the aquifer below. Whoever drills the biggest straw can extract as much as they want, with zero accountability if a neighboring town's well runs dry. The profit margins are staggering. For access to springs near Flint, Nestle pays the state just $200 a year for a permit. They pump millions of gallons of public water, bottle it, and sell it back to consumers, generating billions in annual revenue. This relentless pumping physically alters the landscape. Federal assessments found that commercial extraction was actively drying up surface resources, leaving ecosystems like California's Strawberry Creek severely impaired. State and federal water protections are routinely bypassed. Millions of dollars in lobbying and campaign contributions help secure favorable access rights, creating a closed-door quid pro quo arrangement between industry executives and government officials, which leads to the third and most aggressive front. Over the last few years, billion-dollar hedge funds and private equity firms have quietly purchased thousands of acres of agricultural land across the American West. These financial institutions have no interest in growing crops. They are targeting the water rights legally attached to the soil, positioning themselves to become the corporate masters of the reserves beneath the ground. They are speculating on thirst. By securing control of these aquifers, Wall Street firms are betting that regional scarcity will force governments and citizens to pay premium rates just to survive. If financial firms dictate who gets access to deep well aquifers, survival itself is converted into a market-rate luxury. Handing water over to private markets does not actually solve the crisis it claims to fix. Private operators routinely ignore the extensive, hidden leaks in our aging infrastructure, because repairing a rusted underground pipe does not generate an immediate, short-term profit. This chart shows the results of a survey of water utility executives identifying major risks by 2030. They recognize that failed infrastructure is a significant threat. Yet instead of fixing existing pipes, the industry prioritizes the discovery of entirely new water sources. Instead of spending capital to stop leaks, corporations invest heavily in new tech like smart meters. These devices track exact usage and make it far easier to automatically shut off the water of anyone who cannot afford the rising fees. The situation forces a decision. We can protect water as a public trust and a fundamental human right, or we can surrender our domestic security to an increasingly aggressive dry grid. Because when the public reservoirs finally run dry, whoever controls the private wells controls the population. If you want to help us keep exposing the hidden forces shaping our world, drop a like on this video, leave a comment below with your thoughts, and make sure to subscribe to the Shadow Files. We'll see you in the next investigation.